I grew up in an area that was highly religious in Christian belief. And yes, it was a stereotypical church 2 times on Sundays normal practice. We were raised to think that those of other faiths were going to hell, so you can imagine how narrow-minded it was. Well, in senior year, my friends and I were over it. So, like typical kids, we started finding things to do to pass the time. One of the favorite things we found entertaining was to go explore abandoned places in the area. Growing up in a small farming community, there were plenty of choices to find. We found some barns that were falling apart. You know, the normal things. One day we were out and we decided to go down a gravel road that we hadn't tried yet. After about 10 miles or so, we saw a minimum maintenance road. For those that don't know what those are, these are long roads no longer maintained for upkeep. So down that road we went. Nothing but corn on all sides. The road ended up coming to a stop, revealing an abandoned farmyard. We looked around, saw a barn, tipped over windmill, and an old, rickety house. After checking the barn out, we were ready to see the house. Everything was caked in dust. No windows left. My friend tried climbing the stairs, but his foot fell through. Looking around, we eventually found a set of stairs leading to the basement. The stairs were so old they were made from stone, not concrete. Thankfully, we all had flashlights, found a bunch of old jars, old wood chair, the usual. But then, there were these shoes. There was probably about 20 to 30 pairs of them, all lined up neatly against the wall. At first we thought, wow, what a collection. All this for old shoes. But then we noticed some of them were newer. Some even looked like styles I wore as a kid. That is when we realized that they were all kids' shoes. All of them had various amounts of dust on them, so they weren't all put there at the same time. I still don't know to this day why they were in the basement stacked up like that. Like some sort of trophy shelf. I don't know why some were older and some were newer. It still gives me chills thinking about it. Mostly because this place was in the middle of nowhere. Getting to the place was already hard enough, because we bottomed the car several times. But in that basement, we all felt like we had intruded into something that was never meant to be found. Hi, this is my first time telling this story on the internet, and I hope you enjoy it. It happened in February 2020 in Canada. I was living with my best friend in a 2-bedroom apartment. Just to give you a little idea, our rooms face each other. In between them, there's a bathroom and a closet full of blankets and board games. There was 8 apartments in the building, 2 on each floor. It was around 3:30 a.m. and I was sleeping while my friend was playing video games on his PC, as he usually would. I woke up to the lights in my room turning on. As I was turning around to look what was happening, the lights went off and I saw a figure of a man turning around and leave. I then heard the door open, then shut. I tried to follow him, but I couldn't get dressed for the cold winter in time, and I saw nothing from my windows. I asked my roommate if he saw or heard anything, since his door was open. He said that he saw nothing, but might have heard the door a minute ago. Since we live near 2 colleges and a university, our neighborhood is full of students. He said, from the time it might be a drunk guy who got in the wrong apartment and got a good laugh at me for being scared. In the next week, the girl living on the same floor as us texted me if we hosted a party last night. We did not, nor did we ever. She answered back that someone got into her apartment, then described the same thing as me, and thought it might have been a friend of mine or something like that. This gives me chills every time I think about it. Was it simply a drunk guy who got lost twice? 2 different people, a sexual predator, or worse? I make sure to double check my locks when I go to bed now. For some time, I've had this feeling that I'm not alone in my house, like someone or something is there. Or in the morning, I find things in places that they don't belong. When my parents are home, I feel safer, but I still have a strange feeling that there's another presence in the house. Some nights I hear footsteps on the floorboards creak, but every time I'm alone, things begin to take a turn for the worse. Side note, I also have an attic and it's kinda creepy, but more on that another time. One night when I was alone at around 2 a.m, I heard a loud noise coming from the attic. This happened some months ago, but a more recent event would be that one time when I got home earlier than my parents. It was a night. I heard a phone go off in the house, like a message notification. I knew it wasn't mine. I called both my parents to check if one of them forgot their phone. Both answered. Then the fear started to creep in. I asked myself, what am I gonna do? What if someone is really there? What if it's just paranoia, my mind playing tricks on me? But I knew I heard it well. I knew what it was. I called a friend to stay with me on the phone while I investigated the house. I closed every room door so if one opened, I would hear the noise. Nothing happened all night before I fell asleep. In the early hours of the morning, I woke up to a cell phone buzzing in the house. I instantly froze, remembering what had happened earlier in the night. I got up and grabbed my baseball bat, preparing for the worst. I was only in my boxers and the house was freezing cold. This was even more strange, considering it was the middle of summer. I slowly cracked my door open and looked around the house to find all the doors closed, as I had left them. I wondered why my parents didn't open them already after they got home, and I opened their door to tell them. When I did, I realized they still hadn't arrived, and my bones froze over. My mind began racing and my heart pumping, and I thought, I have to deal with this now or never. So I approached the noise, which was a light in the darkness. I picked up the phone, which was still ringing, and asked who was on the other side. I didn't hear any response but the cliché, heavy breathing on the other side of the phone. I began screaming into the phone hysterically, demanding an answer to my problems. But nobody did. I threw the phone down and marched back to my room, locking it once more, bat in hand. I didn't have any idea of what to do next, and I just sat in my room thinking about the whole situation. Somewhere along the way I must have fallen asleep, and when I awoke, everything was normal. My parents even remembered talking to me the day before, and I didn't know what to think. That was the worst thing that has happened so far, but I'll keep you up to date if anything happens in the future. Hopefully I can get out by then, but I'm not sure if I will ever be able to. Thanks for watching tonight's episode of Spooky Season. I hope you enjoyed watching or listening to it as much as we did making it. If you liked it, leave a like rating down below and subscribe for future content. See you next time, and sweet dreams.